Welcome back to Live, Laugh, Love Real Estate Conversations with Lisa Loveland and Costa Hansis. Last episode, we had Deb Taylor on, and we talked a lot about data and a lot about the numbers and what's happening in the market. And today, we wanted to talk about sellers. And even though it's a hot market, sellers still need to do certain things or projects around the house to get top dollar and to sell in the quickest amount of time. So what we're going to do today is talk about 6 projects that we think will increase the value of your home. And it doesn't have to be a major overhaul.
Right.
You just have to go in with a critical eye and look from the buyer's viewpoint. It's tough because you've lived in your house. You don't notice these things. A good real estate agent will, and buyers always do because it's money coming out of their pocketbook. So 6 projects that we think can boost your home value. 1, and this is no surprise, your kitchen. And when we talk about kitchen renovations, it's not necessary to do a complete overhaul. If your kitchen's in average condition, if maybe it just has some normal wear and tear, there's a lot of things you can do by just painting your cabinets. Paint the cabinets white.
Yeah.
Changing out the knobs. Making sure your appliance packages are up to date, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Sub-Zero and Wolf. Of course, at your higher end, that we need that.
Totally.
But at any level, if we can just have a crisp, clean kitchen, and for minimal, you want everything off the countertops when you're photographing and when you're showing. It doesn't, like I said, doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but
No.
kitchens. Definitely.
Everybody loves the kitchen.
Everybody does. Yeah.
It's like
even
that-
if you don't cook, everyone, you have a party, everybody hangs out in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, exactly. You have this whole living room. I noticed my house too. I have living room area and like better entertaining areas. Even when I go to like friends' houses too,
Yep.
like they have this big like entertaining area, but everybody still just hovers around the kitchen table or counter that they have at the island.
Yeah.
And just hovers there and hangs out there the entire night. It's like, well, I had this whole other room set for this, but I guess we're just hanging out in the kitchen. There's something
You go
about
with the
it.
flow. There is, absolutely is.
But the knobs and the painting it makes such a difference in terms of like we have property ourselves in terms of investments, and like,
Yep.
every time a tenant moves out, it's like, especially if they've been there for a while, like the best bang for your buck is just if you go in there. It's funny because like we have the contractor do. Sometimes we do it ourselves, but if it's the contractor, for example, and we're like, hey, let's just change the knobs and paint the cabinets. We had this in one of the units. Did that, came back, and it's like, is this a new kitchen?
It makes a huge difference. A coat of paint goes such a long way in a kitchen and in the house.
For such a low cost,
Cleans
too.
it right up, freshens it right up. Yeah. And then obviously the number 2 is a bathroom renovation, or if you can add a half bath, depending on how big your space is. But renovating a bath or adding a half bath or a full bath, always worth the investment. And bathrooms, you can do the same thing. Sometimes you just go in and change the fixtures.
Yeah.
Put in a glass door instead of a shower curtain. Makes it look a little bit more contemporary and modern. If it's a smaller bathroom and the tiles are dated, do some cool, contemporary new tiling, and that completely changes the look of a bathroom.
Definitely.
You want it to feel very spa-like.
Yeah,
And
the lighting.
lighting and colors will do that.
Definitely. Some people have cool like diffusers and just different like ambient lighting. And if you want to, again, it depends on the price point too, and it depends on the
Right.
level you want to go to too. But just little things make such a difference, whether that's like candles or little setups or a little
Yep.
the cool thing I noticed too is people have in their houses the instead of just like having like, for example, like Q-tips or toothbrushes in like a drawer just stuffed in, like have a little like cool container that has all the cotton swabs or whatever you want to call them. And then toothbrushes. And there's just so many little things too, like go to like Home Sense or like
Right.
Home
Make
Goods.
it look nice and organized. People
makes
like
such a
to go in
difference.
when they're looking. When buyers come through your house, we don't want to have them distracted with your stuff.
Right.
Nobody wants clutter, even if you don't live like that yourself. When you go in and you're looking to buy, those are the things that resonate with anyone, even if they're not that organized. They forget they're bringing all their stuff in. So you want it to be appealing and easy on the eyes. The other one, which, this is kind of an obvious one. A lot of these are obvious, so we want to give you little tweaks on what you can do without spending a ton of money. But this is to increase your square footage. So if you have a basement or an attic that is just being used as storage, convert that into some usable space. It's not that much money. You could have the basement be a workout room, a kid's playroom, another kind of home office. If you look at some statistics, 21% of buyers since the pandemic wanted larger homes, and 35% wanted more space because they were telecommuting or doing virtual schooling at home. So who knows what those numbers will look like when we're out of the pandemic, but this pandemic has really changed the way that people live. So I would expect those numbers to stay pretty close to the 21 to 35%.
At least having it as an option at the end of the day too.
Right.
You go back to the office, that's fine. But hey, sometimes maybe it's that kind of hybrid approach, at least 1 or 2 days. And then who knows, you can use it even if you go back to the office, you can use it as like a study or just a hobby kind of room to use. Absolutely. It just makes a huge difference. I was watching a video the other day. It was this tour of a YouTuber's new like dream home. Like this YouTuber who has been, I haven't followed him, but he was on like another YouTuber did like a tour of it, and he was showcasing his home. It was this beautiful home. I'm not sure where it was, but the big part of it too, this guy that was, his name's Graham Stefan. He's like an investor, different things in real estate, but he like went through the house, like watched the video of the tour, and then along the process would like talk about the different things in the house. Like, oh, I like this. This is a good idea. Kind of like what we're doing right now. And like the big thing there was he like redid the top floor of the house, which is, I guess it was an attic before. Okay. But then they turned it into like a kind of like a hangout room attached with like an office. And it's just, I think he gave a statistic too, but in terms of that, just added the value so much more of just having that other area.
More living space. Yeah, you have to understand how people are going to live within the space. So when we're talking about increasing square footage, and you're living in the city, and a lot of our market is a city, obviously, you might not necessarily be able to convert a basement or an attic. But if you have any kind of outdoor space, a little deck, make it feel like it's an extension of your living area where you really could entertain there. You could take your laptop out there and work on the good weather when, it's not too cold, and just make any kind of space you have appealing. You can even go in and it's not creating more square footage, but it's giving the feel of better used space if it's more organized. So when you open your closets, make sure that they're all organized. Like you were saying about a bathroom, make sure that everything looks neat and organized. If you have a pantry, anything, a broom closet, anything you have, just make it organized, put up shelves, and that will give the sense of greater square footage.
People love storage. Yeah. Storage, in the video too, they were talking about that, but the storage is just huge because people like to keep, no offense, like they're useless crap. And
I know, we can't part with things. And what's interesting is sometimes you don't look for that when you're looking for a house. Right. You realize that once you've moved in.
Where am I going to put everything?
I'm crazy for linen closets. I say it all the time. I'm like, I don't understand why people don't do linen closets in bathrooms. It's easy to put in, and it gets rid of so much clutter that's out and about. Number 4, again, this is not going to be any new news, curb appeal. In the suburbs, Cape and Islands, you've got a lot more opportunity to do some really cool stuff with landscaping, painting the outside of the house, doing that kind of obvious curb appeal. But in the city, even if you have those little gardens in the front, just make them pretty, make them colorful, because that's the entrance to the home. So you want to start there with that good vibe and that good feeling. And then you walk in and you've got the nice clean kitchen, you've got everything organized, there's a lot of storage. So you're not walking in and automatically saying, ooh, like grass is overgrown, ooh, the kitchen's a little banged up. That just sets the absolute wrong mode for a showing.
Absolutely.
Number 5, go green. Now this is going to be huge, with everything that's going on right now in our world. And we're not saying you have to go get solar panels and do anything that expensive, and you don't want to go through the hassle of getting that permitted. Sometimes they're not even allowed, especially in some of the areas that we're selling. But if you can just get some kind of new windows, high efficiency appliances, high efficiency lighting, that can increase your sale by about 2.7%, which is kind of interesting because you wouldn't think it would even have that much of an impact. But about 80 to 83% of buyers rate that as essential. So whether that's a mindset or it's an actual cost savings, there are some numbers that say if you put about $5,000 into that kind of efficiency, energy efficiencies, and someone can save $1,000 a year,
It's huge.
that's something that buyers are actually really looking at these days.
Totally. I think I don't know if we're going to talk about it later on, but the whole idea of having a smart home is huge, whether that's like a Nest. I mean, every company is trying to make different things now. You have the Nest is like a popular one. I see in a lot of houses. I mean, it's just so convenient. You control it from your phone too.
Absolutely.
The electronic locks and Ring doorbells and different things like that. Those are a minimal cost. They're just not, somebody comes, an electrician comes and changes it out, and all of a sudden you have a smart home.
Yeah.
That's a big marketing play too in your house. Smart house. Everybody loves it. Smart everything.
Absolutely. Especially with people that have multiple homes.
Right.
You can control the heat. You can see who's there. I mean, there's just, we should do a whole nother episode on smart homes because there's just so much to talk about in regard to that. That's a whole nother episode.
And the house takes over, like that movie, I forget what it's called, but then the house becomes a smart home and then tries to like take over the house, and I don't think they kill the family. It's a children's movie, so there's no killing the family, but it's like just the house becomes too smart. Like
and that's a problem too. Sometimes we can go too far with technology.
Oh yeah.
But if we can pick and choose, what actually will give us some peace of mind and efficiencies and cost savings, then those are the types of energy saving and efficiencies that you want to put your money into.
Absolutely.
And then number 6, again, this will be no surprise, is to declutter. It's a hard thing to do and it's a hard thing for us as agents too, to go in and give somebody that advice, because it feels so personal. So oftentimes before I even go in on a listing appointment, I will send, my potential clients and sellers, what to expect on our visit. And I always talk up front before I even see their house that everything has to be decluttered. It has to look like it's staged and it's a gallery, and it's very difficult to live like that, but it's the best way to get the highest amount of money in the shortest amount of time. And that way, when we go in and we're repeating what we need to do, it doesn't matter if it is cluttered or if it isn't cluttered. The conversation is the same, and it seems like it's a bit better received. And they say 93% of agents will recommend that people declutter. 100% of agents actually should.
Yeah, right.
That's probably the 7%.
7%?
I don't know what that 7% is. Probably they're like, oh, geez, I don't want to offend somebody.
Yeah. But your job is to offend people not in a negative way, but just to tell the truth.
It's right.
Why would you hire somebody else to represent you to do the job when they're not going to tell you how they truly feel? It just doesn't work.
That's right. And again, it's not us coming in with a personal opinion; it's a professional opinion.
No,
we've been doing it for a long time. We see it all the time, and our job as agents is to set the appropriate expectations, not necessarily come in and need somebody to be our friend. I always say this: we hope that you like us, and that is our intent. But you're more important than us, you liking me.
Yeah.
We need to set the appropriate expectation, so that you know what to do and what's going to happen in the process.
Right.
So, just as a recap, the 6 things to increase the value of your home: super simple. 1, your kitchen. 2, renovate or add a bathroom. 3, increase your square footage in any way possible. 4, curb appeal. Even if you're a small condo in the city, just make a cute little garden or do window boxes. Go green. Get new windows, high efficiency light bulbs, high efficiency appliances. Buyers will pay more to save the $1,000 a year that you could in your utility bills. And then declutter. Get rid of all the things that are personal, a lot of pictures. You can have some pictures out because it gives a little bit of a warm feel.
Right.
But you don't want people coming into your house when they're looking for their own purposes, looking at all your stuff. It's way too distracting.
Absolutely. I think these are, and this can be a whole separate podcast topic too, because we want to keep it strict to these 6 things right there, so it's not too much confusing, because we, of course, go all over the place in terms of different tips and experiences. But these are like 6 super simple things, and I was going to say before too, sometimes the simple things are the things that you forget about. Just like anything, business, sports, it's the basics. Go through the basics that people forget. Everybody wants to know like the most specific, advanced way to do everything, and the most technologically advanced things to do everything, versus just, hey, these are the simple things to do. Make sure you have those right. Those other things are great too. And a big thing too is like these, of course, we were gearing this more towards people that are looking to sell their home, but this isn't necessarily geared towards people that are looking to sell their home. It's geared towards homeowners too, who want to increase the value of their home in general.
That's actually a really great point, because how many times do people do this just before they're ready to sell? Because we go in and we tell them that this is what they should do, and they do it and they love it. And like, why didn't we do this 10 years ago?
Right.
And you could have lived with it instead of putting that money into it. Now you're selling it. You'll get the return, but why not make the house the way you've always wanted to live in it? And I think that people get overwhelmed with projects and don't want to take the time and just keep pushing things off because it's good enough. But one of the things that actually makes it easier is if you're upgrading as styles change, then you're always ready to go to market.
100%.
So a job change could come. It's like, what? I just upgraded this kitchen 5 years ago. It's modern. It still works. I'm ready to go. All I need to do is declutter, and I'm ready to take that next step in my life. And for sellers rather, that understand that this is a hot market and may not need to do these things, I can't emphasize enough that's not the right way to do it. People want turnkey. It blows my mind, but it's what we see in the market. I mean, I would prefer to go in and put my stamp on something, but we've seen this. I mean, people don't even want to change paint colors. Yeah. So you've got to listen to your agents. You've got to listen to what the market is telling us. And even if it's a great location, if it isn't turnkey, people will go to a lesser location where they don't have to do anything when they move in.
Absolutely.
So those are our tips for today. Today was a shorter episode because we wanted to keep it short and concise and give you the 6 reasons that you should do these things to your house in order to increase your value and sell them in a quicker amount of time.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week.